Chapter 3. Betrayal, Survival, and the Birth of a King. After the treacherous death of King Satufa, the Ahom throne stood vulnerable, and so did the very fabric of royal succession. Into this breach stepped Tayao Kamti, the third son of Sukrungfa. Tayao Kamti had two wives. Of the two, the younger queen was his favorite, and now pregnant with his first child. Tayao Kamti had appointed his elder queen in charge of the kingdom in his absence. The elder queen, gripped by jealousy, feared that the birth of the child would seal the younger queen's influence. So she used her authority as regent to stage a cruel deception, leveling a false accusation of treason against her rival. The trial was a farce. The verdict, guilty. The sentence, death by beheading. But fate intervened. The ministers, moved by the younger queen's condition, refused to kill her. Instead, they placed her on a small raft and set her adrift on the Brahmaputra, leaving her to the mercy of the river. Days later, she reached Habung, where a kind Brahmin gave her shelter. There she died after giving birth to a boy and telling the Brahmin the real identity of the boy. The Brahmin raised the boy as his own, never forgetting the truth whispered to him. The child, unaware of his destiny, grew among humble fields, yet carried the blood of kings. Meanwhile, Tayao Kamti returned and learned the truth. Devastated, he discovered that a fresh investigation had proven the charges false. But he, shackled by the elder queen's grip, took no action. Her reign of cruelty deepened, and the nobles, disgusted by the king's weakness, had him assassinated in 1389. The elder queen met the same fate, her treachery buried with her in Charadio. For 8 long years after the death of King Tayao Kamti in 1389, the Ahom throne stood empty. With no rightful heir in sight, the kingdom was ruled by its two most powerful nobles, Cheatai Kumberhagohain and the Borgohain, who governed not as kings but as caretakers of a legacy waiting to be restored. In 1397, an Ahom cattle trader named Thao Chokan crossed the great river on business and arrived in Habung, a quiet village on the frontier. There, among the huts and humble folk, he spotted a boy of noble appearance. The trader, struck by the youth's presence, made inquiries. What he learned changed history. The boy, now 15, was the lost son of Tayao Kamti's younger queen. Raised by the Brahmin who saved her, the boy had grown strong, wise, and unknown to the world. Until now. Tao Chokan reported the discovery to the Berhagohain, who, after careful verification and counsel with the ministers, brought the young prince to Charadio. The kingdom had found its king at last. The boy took the name Sudangfa and ascended the throne, not as a child of privilege, but as a survivor of betrayal. With him, he brought the old Brahmin who had sheltered him, and the man was made his confidential advisor. The Brahmin's sons were granted positions on the frontier, and their influence marked the beginning of Brahmanical presence in Ahom politics and religion. Under Sudangfa's rule, Hindu rituals and customs began to enter the royal court. A kingdom that had once stood apart from the Indic fold now opened its gates, not through conquest, but through gratitude and kinship. From the drifting raft to the royal throne, from Habung to Charadio, a prince lost to the river became the king who changed the current of an entire dynasty. Soon after ascending the throne, Sudangfa discovered a conspiracy hatched by the Tipam chiefs who opposed his rule. Instead of retaliating openly, he devised a clever plan. Under the pretense of celebrating an elephant-catching festival, he invited the conspirators to a grand feast. Once their suspicions were allayed, he had them suddenly overpowered and executed. A more serious threat emerged from Tao Sulai, a Tipamia chief believed to be the lover of newly wedded Tipamia wife of Sudangfa. When Sudangfa came to know about it, frightened Tao Sulai fled to Mongkong, a Shan state in Upper Burma. He urged Surumfa, the ruler of Mongkong, to invade Assam, claiming the Ahom dynasty was in disarray. Mongkong responded with a military expedition. Sudangfa led the Ahom army in person and fought a fierce battle. Despite suffering a minor injury, he turned the tide of battle and forced the invaders to retreat. Following this victory, Sudangfa transferred the Ahom capital from Charadio to Chargawa, near the Dihing River. Frustrated, Tao Sulai next found refuge in the Kamata kingdom. When Sudangfa demanded his extradition, the Kamata king refused. Sudangfa launched a military campaign led by Nongshakam Borgohain. However, a simultaneous invasion by Bengal Sultan Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah forced the Kamata king to seek peace. The united Ahom Kamata forces drove the invaders and also killed Tau Sulai. Through a masterful combination of diplomacy, warfare, and tradition, Sudangfa preserved the stability of the Ahom kingdom.